what's up, guys? Welcome back to another quick video here on the fellow KGB channel. We're going to be going over our Week 11 Part 2 waiver wire targets. We got the All-Star break kind of sandwiched in between, so the week from last week continues. We got, I think, 4 days. It starts back up on Wednesday, so we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so I guess Saturday and Sunday. So we got a handful of games in here. I think the most games a team has is going to be 3. So I'm interested in some of these teams. This is just a schedule grid that I whipped up for the rest of the season real quick. But we got a handful of teams here with 3 games. These are going to be the guys that I recommend probably snagging the most. That's going to be Memphis, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Washington, Chicago, Portland, Atlanta, Miami, Minnesota, New Orleans, Oklahoma, Orlando, Philly. We'll see about Philly, and then Toronto. So a handful of teams each play 3 games the rest of the way. Those guys are going to be a little bit more priority than the others if you're looking to make an ad for the rest of the week. But just looking at the waiver wire watch list here, I have 30 players deep. I kind of added some players towards the top of the list just to make sure these guys are owned if you play in 8 or 10-man leagues. I'll just kind of braze over some of these names. Robert Covington needs to be owned. Norman Powell, PJ Washington, Anthony Edwards. We've talked a lot about him on the show the last handful of weeks. Bojan Bogdanovic, we'll see. Did I hear no, that wasn't him being in the trade rumors, but Bojan being a really good player. He just popped off for 50 points the other day against New Orleans. And then you got Marvin Bagley here, about 60% owned. Derrick Rose is out. He had the COVID rule here. So if anyone drops Derrick Rose, make sure you snag him. I think he's going to be a useful player the rest of the way here. And then TJ McConnell. We talked about him last week because he went off for that 70-point game. He had the triple-double with 16, 13, and 10 steals. So he needs to be owned. He's about 56.4% owned. Kevin Huerter, Terrence Ross, these are guys that need to be owned as far as 12-man league. So if you're in a 10-man league, that's what becomes a little bit more of a questionable call. But anyways, the guys that are under 50% owned that have caught my attention, I think you got to go with Carmelo Anthony here. He's been playing great. The last 5 games, you see 24, 29, 52, 20, 33.5. Really consistent. He's got his points back up in solid numbers here. Steals, blocks, he'll chip in pretty much all categories too. So Carmelo Anthony needs to be owned. And then you got Deandre Jordan. So we got some veteran players here, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Blake Griffin, but DeAndre Jordan's minutes should be fine here. He doesn't play a lot of minutes the way it is, but I mean, DeAndre Jordan, when you put him in your lineup for the week, you got to expect some of these 24, 37s and then an 11 and 18. Like, that's kind of his wide range. So if you just look at him as a whole week where you get 3 or 4 games, I think you'll be happy with DeAndre Jordan. So only 48% rostered there. Josh Richardson for Dallas Mavericks, starting to get his consistency again on the scoring end, chipping in pretty much in all categories too. So he's not going to wow you in any situation or any category, but he's just really solid. He's got a really high floor here the last few games of 17 to 19 points. So we like him quite a bit. And then Dylan Brooks here is another guy who just had a massive game before the All-Star break. 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks against Milwaukee for 55 points. That might be a season high for Dylan Brooks. So he's a guy here that's got a really high save floor. Looks like 16.5 points is his worst game over the month of February. So really solid player. He needs to be owned in 12-man leagues. You got Ricky Rubio. Of course, we know D'Angelo Russell is out for a while, and Ricky Rubio he's not going to wow you either. He's just really steady. Of course, he's a great assist man here. So if you're in a category leagues, that's a good one to target. But only 43% owned. He needs to be owned. He's averaging quite a bit of points over the last 7 days. I think I have these guys filtered by here. So Ricky Rubio is averaging about 34 points per game. So really, really solid player there you can get for most league sizes here. And then you got Kyle Kuzma. He's under 38% owned. He's averaging like 44. I guess the last 7 days are misleading because it's about 44 here. But anyways, he's got a really high floor. We know Anthony Davis is going to continue to be out for a little bit yet. And Kuzma's minutes have gone, up significantly over, the course of the season with Anthony Davis out. And I don't know, we're going to see Kuzma probably continue to ramp things up. And hopefully he just needs to get more consistent. If he can knock out some of these 4s, these 5s, these 7s, and start to figure out how to get, double-digit points per game, I think that's where Kuzma is going to really start to pick up in the second half of the season. You got Nerlens Noel here. Now, we're going to have Mitchell Robinson back at some point soon. And it sounded like Robinson had some good reports before the All-Star break on his fractured hand. But as long as he's out, that means good things for Nerlens Noel. So as long as he's out, I'm going to continue starting Noel. And he's starting to, he's been putting up some massive numbers. You see the 43, the 25, the 20, the 39, the last 3 games before the All-Star break, massive minutes too. So I think even when Mitchell Robinson comes back, Nerlens Noel should have enough of a role carved out for himself there. You got Danilo Galinari. Now the Hawks have been just hit with injuries, whether it's Capella, DeAndre Hunter, who had some good news reports for the All-Star break, and then Cam Reddish as well. So Gallinari's been getting some starter minutes lately. And that game on the 3rd here against Orlando, he went off for 52 fantasy points. So we'll see if Gallinari can kind of continue where he left off here. He's only less than 30% owned, and I just think, I mean, as long as he's 14, 20, 17, 48, as long as he gets you one of these massive games throughout the week, you can kind of be okay with some of these lesser games here. So I like Gallinari quite a bit. You got Bruce Brown here for the Brooklyn Nets. This guy was massive down the stretch here before the All-Star break. You see 37, 34, 26, 29, 40, 30, just playing a lot of good starter minutes, and he's just a really consistent scorer. So if he can continue this after the All-Star break, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the Nets offense looks with the addition of Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant back, Kyrie Irving back. All these guys really haven't played a lot of games together yet, so we still don't know what this Nets team can fully do. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens now that they have acquired Blake Griffin. But I like Bruce Brown quite a bit. He's a really solid sixth man type, if you will. Jalen Brunson was another one of those guys here who was popping off right before the All-Star break, just really steady. If you're in a 12-man league, he's averaging almost 22 points per game on the season. But if you look at his last 7 days, he's over 32 points per game. So really, really high floor, really high minutes. He's a good scorer, good facilitator of the ball, and he rebounds. He's just a tough point guard here. So I like him quite a bit as well. Dennis Smith Jr., now he got a lot of run because there's injuries to the point guard spot over there in Detroit. So we'll see what happens after the break. But this was a player that I was using just to pick up an extra couple games before the All-Star break. 46, 33, 30, 34, 26. A really strong run. Maybe Detroit's going to want to give him some more run as the season continues. Again, they traded for him. So, I mean, maybe they like what they see, and he's all of a sudden locked into starter minutes the rest of the way. So Dennis Smith Jr., one of those guys that could get more minutes as the season progresses here. Alfred Payton. Payton was injured and missed some time. And with Derrick Rose on the COVID list, he got the start, and he popped off here. 20 points, 6 boards, 4, and 1 for 44 fantasy points. So as long as Derrick Rose is out, I like Alfred Payton quite a bit. And maybe it's the rest of the week. Who knows? We'll double check that. But if there's no Rose, I like Payton quite a bit. You got Kelly Olynyk here, who he's kind of been on this show pretty much the entire season for the waiver wire segment. He's only 17% owned. I think I own him in both of my 12-man leagues, and you just got to be able to put up with some of these 14s, these 20s, these 14s, because you get rewarded with almost a 39, a 35 on some of these high 20s. So I look for him to kind of get things back into form from I guess early February was when he was doing really consistent here in the 25, 27 range. So I like him quite a bit as well. Michael Carter-Williams. Now we're expecting Cole Anthony to be back. I don't know if he's going to be back right away, but while Anthony's been out, Michael Carter-Williams has been great. He had some kind of dips here with the 15 and the 16, but everything else was really, really solid. So he's averaging almost 22 points per game on the season. The last 4 games, I guess he's averaging, these 2 scores. So I like Michael Carter-Williams as long as Cole Anthony remains sidelined. You got DeAnthony Melton here, who's a really solid veteran point guard. He's not really a guy that I think you need to roster full time, but if you're looking for a guy here who, again, he's got 3 games the rest of the week, and if you got a guy that's got 2 and maybe there's some questions on their team or some tough matchups, maybe DeAnthony Melton is the guy. So we're getting into some numbers that are really low. So I kind of just want to shout out some guys here. We got Nicholas Claxton. This might not look so good because when I added into the list the other day, they didn't have Blake Griffin on the team. So his minutes might be reduced with Blake Griffin, but someone definitely keep an eye on, put him on the watch list because he was a really good scorer for them. He was doing blocks and rebounds and steals. So a young, fun player here to keep an eye on. You got Maxi Kleber, Dallas Mavericks. I'm not super excited about him, but if you need a team here that's got 3 games, he's worth the spot. He can maybe get you 60, 70 points the rest of the way, which would be huge. You got Justin Patton here. Now I like Patton because he kind of took over DeMarcus Cousins' backup role, and I think at this point, with Christian Wood being, the de facto starting center for them, And DeMarcus Cousins was rosterable in 12-man leagues when both Wood was on the floor and himself. And all of a sudden, you see the last 2 games before the All-Star break, he popped for 10, 6, 4, 4, and 1 block. And then the other day, he gets 6, 6, 1, 3, 2. And both games over 30 points, 19-point here, a 20-point here. If you can kind of avoid these 8s and these 10s, we might be looking at one of the hottest guys to keep an eye on here. So I really like this Justin Patton. And if he can kind of get these minutes that are, if he can get around 26, 27 minutes per game, I think this is a player that needs to be owned. So he's probably one of my favorite sleepers for the rest of the season. He's only 3% owned. So keep an eye on Justin Patton for sure. You got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Rumor that he's making Lonzo Ball expensible. But we'll see. I think if you need a guy, it's really inconsistent. It's hard to trust, but this is a guy maybe to just add to the watch list and see what happens. If there's any moment where he's going to get a spot start, that's the night to play him. But his minutes and everything is just too inconsistent. But again, if he gets, if you hear he's getting more play time for a game that night, that's the time to add him. And then Jordan Poole here, he popped off. I think it was his first game of the season with the Warriors here, but 26 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. And Steve Kerr, came out and said that he's a guy that probably needs more playing time. So keep an eye on Jordan Poole here. Really good scoring option for the Warriors. I think he could have something down the stretch here too. So this was just going to be a quick video tonight on guys that I like to add for the rest of the way. Now here, let me actually filter. If we filter by scoring average, let's actually go the last 15 days. So last 15 days average, and then we will, let's hit schedule. So Bruce Brown's up there. Kevin Huerter is up there. He's one of the better shooters there. He's got 3 games. I guess the cutoff is March 14th. So Huerter does play on Saturday and Sunday. You got D'Anthony Melton with 3 games. Noel just 2. Dylan Brooks has 3 games. One of the better ads. Kleber has 3 games. Let's see here. Nickeil Walker, I don't know if we trust that. But Terrence Ross, really good ad. Kelly Olynyk, 3 games. Norman Powell, 3 games. Robert Covington, 3 games. Anthony Edwards, Galinari, 3 games. Josh Richardson, 3. Kyle Kuzma, only 1 game, so I don't know if I recommend adding him. He's more of a guy that if you are comfortably going to win this week, maybe you add him, in a couple days just to make sure you get him for the following week. You got Ricky Rubio, 3 games. You got Michael Carter-Williams, 3 games. Carmelo Anthony, 3 games here, and then the final one is Justin Patton. So I think I can kind of convince myself I'm going to go pick up Justin Patton in a couple of my leagues. So that's going to do it for tonight's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe as we're trying to work on our next goal of 300 subscribers. So thank you guys. Have a good rest of your morning, evening, whatever you need, and we'll see you in another video. Thanks. Peace.